Hi, this is Amir. I'm co-founder and CEO of Unbody, where we are developing an AI native stack for building and developing AI native products. To be honest, we started Unbody because we got kind of fed up with the fragmentation and diversity and complexity of how we are treating AI into daily products, and especially from a development point of view. So we combine all these stacks together, the best of AI development world and product development world all together. In this video, I'm gonna basically show you a couple of projects that we have developed using Unbody and how Unbody works. The video is split into three parts. The first part is about demoing those projects from our clients, and then the part two is showing you how Unbody works using the Unbody's dashboard, which is more graphical and visual. And the last part, we dive more into the code and it's become more technical, showing you how you can use Unbody's various APIs and SDKs to build AI native products. All right, let's start by showing you the first product I wanted to show. And that is called Gray. Gray is a blogging platform that kind of challenges the status quo of content creation and curation. Usually we build blogs by writing in various formats or producing content in various formats like videos, audios, Google Docs, Markdown files, etc. And then once that content is produced, we need a CMS, content management system, to upload these documents or content to there, and then do a lot of manual work around it by adding description, metadata tags, etc., and do a lot of curation. The idea behind Gray is to automate this entire file, so we as content producer can just produce the content and hook the raw data into Gray, and it generates a blog for us. The example that you see here is from AI Thinkers Amsterdam group, which is a monthly meetup, and they record a lot of talks and demos during their sessions. And all they do is basically upload their recordings to a folder on Google Drive, and the rest of the things that you see here is completely generated out of those raw videos, including like a summary of the entire blogs, different categories, different directories, or also semantic search and generative search on top of it. For example, can a Stable Diffusion bring life back to old photos? And this is all these suggestive queries are generated based on the content of all these sessions. And in this video, for example, given by Jasper, you can see the title of the video, the name of the person, even the tags are all generated out of the content of the video, even the description. You can play the video, and that's again another thing, that these videos come directly and stream directly from Unbody servers. You don't need a video hosting solution for that. It's all included. The transcription is already generated pre-hand, and all you can do is just put them together. Or you can start also talking to the video, chatting about the video. For example, you can say, what did for example, they talked about in this presentation, right? And then based on the content of that video, it generates the response for you and show you the relevant parts of the video. The next project is Care Finder by one of our clients' stories, and this is a AI native platform that helps patients to find the right therapist, right life coach, and other services for themselves based on the problem they have, based on the criteria that they have. For example, this is in Dutch. I'm going to translate back into English, but later on I also want to show you how the system automatically and natively can switch between languages. And the first query, for example, you say psychologies in my neighborhood. The first thing is to understand the question, then searching the database, and then also searching the web for more relevant information. And based on all of that, it finds a couple of matches that match this particular query. For example, Michelle, and I can also see why Michelle is being recommended to me. But now let's go back and switch to English. For example, I can say, hey, I'm a tech founder, and I need help to improve my presentation skills, for example. And so what this does, again, same procedure, understanding what my intentions are, what my request is, finding searching through the database, find the relevant information, and then explain why am I providing this particular search, and again, Now I can also go to each profile and see, okay, why Natalie is being recommended. I can read through it, the pricing, everything. What is very unique here is that this client of ours, the database they have, it comes with very few information, like including the name maybe and a few other like expertise, but an URL to the URL of the website of each therapist and their social media. So everything here that you can see in terms of like profile, copy, etc., is being generated and personalized based on me, but also based on that person and based on their website profile using Unbody enhancers. I can also now start chatting with this person. For example, I can say, hey, what does does she work in weekends, right? Or as such. Also other questions has been generated, and you can see because I started asking in question in English, it also all the questions that you can see are generated in English, but also around presentation skills. So that's the personalization of each profile that you can see. Apart from that, what is very unique here is that it's not only the website as a data source, but also this video. Everything that she's also saying in this video is part of that knowledge base that we are talking about, and because there might be some information that she's talking about in the video that is not on the website. So all the data points come together to build a knowledge base for this. Last but not least, the cool thing about this is that our clients developed this entire demo that I'm showing you in 3 days. 2 days of which 2.5 of it actually was spent on the UI, and only half, even less, 2-3 hours of it was about the backend and UI and everything else, because everything comes right out of the box, and every tool you need as a developer to build a product, it's all included, and you will see in the next part. Let me show you one more example. This is a project, this is visual search engine I built on top of my desktop folders. Like many of you, I have also like thousands of images and PDF screenshots that I never look back at. So I connect this to Unbody and build a search engine on top of it. So you can go and start saying dark theme UI, for example, right? And it shows you the dark theme UI. Why is that so fast? Because it's pre-compiled information and it's only based on the images. There is no text given, there is no instruction given. It understands the images by their nature. What I can do, I can also say, hey, meme about London, for example, because a few months ago when I was in London, I made a meme and it understands it. But let's make it a bit more advanced. For example, I can ask questions like, what was my flight number to London, right? And based on this, it needs to go and find the most relevant information to that flight number, which is the boarding pass. And from that, it extracts this information. Again, why is it fast? Because we do something called, we do pre-computation of information, which is a feature that we have, and we call it data enhancement pipeline. I will explain you more specifically in part 2, and even more specifically in part 3. Great. Now, let's jump into part 2. So, in order to start working with Unbody, your journey starts at the dashboard. The dashboard is where you basically manage sources, manage data projects, etc., and also API keys, team members, etc. Without going into how you can set up a project, let me first show you how it works in terms of content. Imagine that you have a project, you have connected already multiple data providers, Google Drive, Discord, GitHub, Calendar, etc. to it. Each of these is being updated recently, and it gets updated real time. Now you can interact with this process data using a graphical endpoint. Graphical endpoint is the only API that we have, and we also have SDKs. I will show you in part 3, but and this is what you see here is basically a graphical playground. Of course, in a real world you won't use this playground, but you will use actual code, but this is just for the sake of this video. So let's say the first thing we want to show you is this one. For example, let's say we want to get all the Google Docs that we have in our sources. Just to show you an example, this is the demo folder that it's connected to this particular project, and it contains a lot of various files, videos, images, markdown files, and a folder with 2 articles about Quentin Tarantino, a folder with electric cars images, and 2 articles about them, right? So there are 4 Google Docs showing up here, 2 of them about electric cars, 2 of them about Quentin Tarantino. Now I can say, hey, show me the text from each of these. There you go. It gives it. Give me the table of content of each of these. It already gives it to you, or even more than that, give me the auto topics. So all the topics, the main topics are extracted from the document and are already there, or give me the summary of each document, and you have it. Now, let's say we want to do a semantic search. We want to get all the documents about Quentin Tarantino, but without mentioning his name. So we use semantic search, and in this case, I can say, hey, show me a movie director, and or even like a cool movie director, and there you go. You see Quentin Tarantino jumps up, and because it is more relevant. Now we can even narrow it down and say, give me the top 2 articles about Quentin Tarantino. Cool. Now we have the semantic search. Now let's turn this into a RAG. We have the retrieval part. Now we want to make the augmentation generation. We need to go to additional. We have a function called generate and group results. And from there, you basically can give it a task. You can say, for example, explain why these dogs are related, right? And another property you need to give is called properties. And here basically you say which one of the properties look into when you are generating this response. I say look into the title of the document and the text of the document and give me the result back. So what this does, goes and get the top 2 articles about a cool movie director and explains why they are related. So as simple as that, you already have a RAG. Okay, I don't want to get into the code a lot here in this part. I save it for the next part, and there will be way more features, way more functionalities and methods coming in part 3. Just before that, I'll show you it's not only about Google Docs. You can now switch to Discord messages, or you can do text blocks, or you can do text documents, or you can do video files. So everything is already there. Now let's go back to the dashboard. Let me show you how it works. In order to start a project, you create a project, you give it a name. Demo day, for example, right? And here you can, based on the functionalities you need, use one of the presets like generative search or by use case, or you can go to the advanced and you can set up your vectorizers. We offer various versions of open source and self-hosted like contextual transformers, etc., or from third parties like OpenAI or Cohere, the latest models and embeddings. Same for image vectorizer, more fine-tuned and more dedicated modules for RAGs like Q&A modules, or you can use generative search, and again from each of these providers we have the latest models, and then you can also set up your basically enhancements pipeline that I told you about earlier. For example, visual content enhancement that applies to visual material, auto captioning, automatic image tagging, automatic text extraction, and these are all happening pre-computation, so your user don't need to wait. You already have that basically information, and this is how you build a knowledge base. Or textual enhancers, for example, automatic summarization, keyword extraction, name entity extraction, and etc. You name it. And from each, you can choose a model to take care of it. Last but not least are, for example, search utilities like re-rankers, spell checks, etc. You choose them and you create a project. Once the project is created, now you can start adding sources. Google Drive, Calendar, Discord, GitHub, etc. You can also add your own provider with custom data, but for now, at the moment, we don't have it on the dashboard. It's only possible using our APIs and SDKs. I will show you in part 3. But for now, let's say we want to add Google Drive. So you go here, connect. You give the permission to thing, and once you have it, you basically choose a entry point. Entry point is where we need to look into you, because your Google Drive is huge. You need to be a particular folder. You choose a folder, for example, demo1 folder, next, and once that's done, you initialize. After this time on, you don't need to do anything else on the dashboard. Why? Because at this point, Unbody goes and read and index all your files, process them all based on the instruction and the settings you define in the project, enhance each file and that based on the settings that you already had, does everything, and as soon as this is done, you can start interacting with your data using the GraphQL API. Anytime you change the data on your sources, basically, it's being reflected automatically in your database. and finish. So we don't need to do anything. There are a couple of other things you can do as a developer. For example, if you go to developer settings, you can create API keys or webhooks, etc. But I'm going to skip all of these for next part. Okay, part 3. Now let's dive into some code and show you a couple of functions, features, and APIs that we have in the whole stack. Unbody comes with 5 different APIs. The first API is Unbody Admin, that basically helps you to manage resources and for orchestration. The second one is Push API, which is basically used for importing custom data. Unbody Core is the one that you use for interacting with your data, basically behind the scene GraphQL API. Utilities like Query Parser helps you to for various cases. I will showcase later on the use case. And UI. In this demo, I will show you the Unbody React UI components and utilities around UI. So the first thing you need to do is set up the project. Like dashboard, we start by creating a project and setting the project. You create an instance of project settings from admin API, and then you start set up your vectorizers, generative modules, utilities like re-rankers, or enhancers. In this case, I'm using auto summary or auto entities, which are default and default plugins, enhancer plugins of Unbody, but you can also develop your own. I will tell you a bit further down. Auto vision is our visual enhancer, and also the parser and chunkers, what PDF parser you want to use, or you want to develop your own PDF parser, what chunker you want to use, etc. Once that's done and everything is set, you create a reference to that project and save the project. Done. You have the project. Now you need to add data sources. In similar fashion that we have done, you can now use either custom, you can use Push API to add custom data, or Discord or Google Drive from third parties. Anyhow, once you have the source, you save the source, and source is added to the project. On top of that, you can also use the admin API source version, particularly for updating the source, connecting the source, or basically getting the latest status. The next one is really a cool one. I'm super excited about custom data enhancement pipeline. I believe they are like the core of building any knowledge base. So you can imagine them as a middleware somewhere in your pipeline, that the raw data comes in, and then these middlewares gets this raw data, enhance it, enrich it, and then pass it down. So imagine a scenario that I already demoed to you. We have a profile, and each profile there is a website URL, and we want to use the URL like website information to generate the profile based on that, particularly let's say biodata. To do that, we need 3 steps, basically enhancer actions, meaning that we need to first get the website data. Then from that data, we need to find the relevant information of that data that can be used to generate the bio, and then finally generate the bio. So to do that, we use enhancement module from Unbody Admin. And the first thing is to define the step number 1. You give it a name, this step, crawler, and then each step needs an action. Actions are basically the functions and operations of each step, that what needs to come in, what needs to go out. In this case, we use action crawler with the maximum depth of 5. And then the third argument is basically defining the output. In this case, we want to store the result of the scraper or crawler into a field called website. The next step is to find the relevant information. For this, we need a different type of action, retriever. And this action gets a query, and in query, you can basically use Unbody search, semantic search, let's say, to find the most relevant information or most relevant pages that are about biography and business information. This is how you do it. And then you define an output, and you say store them back as relevant pages, and pass it to step 3. Step 3 is about biogeneration. Here we can use another type of action, which is a structure generator. You could also use text generator, but the reason we are using a structure generator here, because we have 2 parameters and we need an object to be stored. One bio, which is a string, and expertise, which is an array of a string. And here you can just give it a prompt, how you do it, and pass it also the relevant pages information as a context to the prompt, and at the end say, okay, stories as an object, bio, and expertise. All right. Once that's done, all you need to do is create a pipeline with the particular profile collection that you have. We call it profile collection, and add the step 1, 2, 3, and then add it to your project setting in similar fashion that you did earlier with the auto enhancers. Cool. Now let's dig into how we can import custom data when we have particular data that is not on Google Drive or Discord, it's on our database, on our servers with a different schema, and we want to customize that. For that, you need two APIs. You need push API and you need admin API. For each of these, you create an instance using the authentication credentials that you have. And once that's done, let's say your records or your data is basically in an object called records. You look through them and insert each basically record into the collection by using a push API. And then once that's on, you use the admin API to basically update the source. Now, let's get into building stuff that will be mainly about front end and application layer. In order to build the stuff with Unbody, you need to use mainly Unbody core API. For that, you create an instance of Unbody using a project key and API key. And then you can do, for example, Unbody get.googledoc.execute. And what this does, basically, it gets all the Google Docs in the projects that you have. But now let's do a semantic search about a cool movie director, the same. Or what if you want to search for a particular keyword that you would use find, Pulp Fiction. Or what if you want to do a combination of these, you would use hybrid. Let's go back here, and what if you want to limit the result only to 3? You use limit. Or what if you want to do more exact and a specific filter? There you can use where and advanced queries like or. In this case, get me only the documents that are either I have an ID, user ID, or they are published. And this is very important because you can't build an application without having this sort of advanced query setups in your hand as a developer. This is like a default requirement for every to build products like advanced query and filtering. Now, or you want to do sort them based on the title, ascending, or you want to do generation, and then you can generate. As simple as that. The cool thing is that it's not only limited to Google Docs, Discord, as I showed you, GitHub issues, just some parameters changes, but the syntax remains the same. PDF, image blogs, or a collection profiles that you saw earlier on. Now, what if you want to combine sources? What if you want to do like search between or combine queries, images, Discord messages, and PDF all together? Well, you can construct the queries separately and then execute them using Unbody.execute all in one API, and behind the scene Unbody handles the mix of requests. Now, let's dive a bit more into input, because input matters. When you build an application or a feature, your users interact with the software, with the features or the product that you're building in human language, in natural language. For example, I love pizza, and how can I make one? And your user expect an outcome of like, okay, relevant information, PDF files, let's say, and an instruction for that. Okay, this is a typical RAG scenario, right? It's simple. This is how you can make a RAG, simplest format, unbody.get.pdf, search about pizza, generate from menu, and then how can I make one? But what you can notice here is that the input is quite different than what we need here. We need pizza, and here is I love pizza, and how can I make one, and how can I make one should go as a prompt, not as a search. So we need somehow to process this input and only extract the information that we need in the right place to have a better RAG and more accurate RAG. So in order to solve that, we introduce query parsers. It's a new module that you can initialize as a parser and define what type of parameters you want to be extracted from the user input, and basically it does it. By default, it extracts concepts and prompt, and whatever you have as a custom output schema, and you have it now. So all you need to do is replace all those basically hard-coded ones with the ones that query parser gives you. So search about the concepts and generate from prompt. Cool. But not always the input is human natural language. Sometimes and not all the cases is RAG. There are thousands of other variations. For example, you want to use the input image as an input, and you don't want to RAG. You want to find a similar item to that particular visual that you have, right? You want a visual search engine. Well, in that case, you can also do that. We have a function called similarity, similar, and this is based on the similarity check. In this case, we say find among image blocks similar images, right? It could be similar text, and then you would input it text with a certainty of 0.8. And what this gives you all the similar images or similar visuals or products to that. Nice. Let's move on one layer up to the last layer, that is basically front end and UI components and what you see. We want to build a multimodal search. In order to do that, we have a couple of React hook. Use RAG multimodal to get the data. Once you have the data, you want to render it. To render it, we have a component RAG UI that is compatible and with the hook, and it renders them, and this is it. And you can also, of course, customize it. Now let's say we want to get some images that are about or having some faces of or some faces in it or about people, and we want to render it. So for this, we introduce a new AI component that is called AI image. Well, it renders the image obviously because it has to, but what makes this unique is that you can, what if you want to zoom in and only on the face? Well, you can do that right on the fly. Fit, crop it, and then crop it to the face. There you go. What if you wanted to remove the background? Well, easy. You can now pass the prompt to it. You can say background prompt, replace background with a black solid color. There you go. And what if you want to do a bit more advanced face pixelation? There you have it. Cool. How about videos? Same fashion. We have a video AI player. You can pass it down, let's say one video, and then you can say now also renders and show me the metadata that you extracted from the video. You have it the same as you also saw in gray. All auto chapters. Well, I hope this gave you a good idea about what Unbody is, but more importantly, what you can build on top of Unbody. Happy to hear your feedback. Get in touch. Get on Discord or GitHub. Yeah, we would love to chat. Cheers.